What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Scott Proctor alongside my guy Matt Morris, per usual. We're back with another episode of Simple Question, but this time we'll have more than one because we have a special guest joining us once again. He covers the Carolina Panthers for the Charlotte Observer, my guy Ellis Williams. L, how we doing, my man?
Scott, how we doing, G? Things are well over here. Just staying busy. Free agency, the draft, March Madness. It's a crazy time of year, but it's fun. It's why we do this.
Yes, sir. It's a wonderful time of the year, and let's get right into it. You were in Indianapolis for the NFL Scouting Combine. You recently had a column come out in the Charlotte Observer ranking the top 5 quarterback options in this draft. What does that hierarchy kind of look like at the quarterback position at this point after the combine? And what do you do you think the Panthers got a little bit more clarity on what they might do at number 6?
Yeah, a lot to unpack there. And honestly, depending on the day that my editor would have asked me to write that column, I probably would have had a different quarterback at number 1, that being either Pittsburgh's Kenny Pickett or Liberty's Malik Willis. I keep going back and forth on those two guys and taking my self-evaluation of those quarterbacks out of it, just talking to Panthers scouts, Panthers officials. They're warming up to both of those guys, but those prospects couldn't be any more different, right? When you look at Kenny Pickett, you see a quarterback with the highest floor. Talking to scouts at the combine around the league, they see him as potentially having a Mac Jones type rookie year, but that doesn't scream the upside of Malik Willis, who you see as potentially a smaller Josh Allen. I think the Mike Vick and Lamar Jackson comparisons are too far off. I don't see it on tape. And then when I corroborate that with scouts, they don't see that either. It's just, this is such a, this draft class, the top of this draft class, non-quarterback or quarterback is lacking those premier players. So I think the internet, if you will, is just anxious to crown somebody, that type of excitement. Malik Willis isn't Lamar or Mike. But like I said, closer to Josh Allen, and the arm is more impressive than his feet. In Indy, talking to scouts, when he let that thing fly on that deep ball, the place just went crazy, and you don't see that much. I know, right? So he's got that arm that scouts and coaches love. And one last thing on these two quarterbacks, both of which the Panthers are becoming more comfortable with, possibly selecting at 6. I was told by a scout that you're going to miss if you don't evaluate the upside, meaning you got to take those splash plays that Malik Willis makes and consider those on a higher scale than just the overall tape. And I thought that was interesting because that goes against what some more traditional scouts would say is you evaluate the whole product and come out with a clear picture. But the flip side of that is you think that you can hone those high points and then raise his floor. So the debate between Kenny Pickett or Malik Willis is fascinating. It's going to carry us through the draft. And the Panthers also have glaring needs at left tackle, which is also abundant at the top of this draft. So I think the Panthers were pretty set on a tackle before the combine, but now are warming up to the idea of possibly selecting either Kenny Pickett or Malik Willis.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we talked last time you were on about the wide receivers. And once again, the wide receivers showed out at the combine with some great, workouts. Was there one guy that kind of stood out to you out of the group that may have moved up the most because of what he was able to do at the combine?
Well, let's get the Chris Olave talk out of the way, right?
I was hoping you'd bring him up.
Yeah, that 40 time. I was I think I was out to dinner when his time popped on Twitter, and everyone reacted at the same exact time. Just whoa, y'all see that? Wait, you guys see that? Wait, what do you run? What? Like it was one of those moments, right? Just a complete burner. Tying to my Cleveland Browns days, covering the Browns for the Plain Deal the past 2 years, I know the Browns are really looking at a receiver, and when you see a time like that, he moves up their board very quickly after that. And to bring this back to the quarterbacks, I thought that one of the most fun moments of the workout is when they paired Olave with Malik Willis to run a vertical. Like, all right, Malik, throw this MFer as far as you can. And
let him run under it.
Exactly, Scotty Vans. You know how it works, right? Just let it launch and run under it, kid. And Willis still overthrew him. And the play, the place was just all smiles and it was all fun. One of those throws that aren't really evaluated, but you're just out there having fun with it. So that's a name that we just got to get out of the way from a hype standpoint. The type of stuff where the Olympics in shorts or whatever some of these scout guys call the combine, those viral moments. From a technical standpoint, Christian Watson of North Dakota State is a name that keeps coming up. He really impressed at the Senior Bowl, and he parlayed that into a successful combine showing. Just a technical route runner, seems to separate well regardless of coverage. I had one scout tell me that they were really impressed with how he fared against man coverage, because at North Dakota State, this is a 6'5", 200-pound kid, right? So he's getting off coverage in the FCS routinely, right? So they were like, look, we saw plenty of tape of him contested catches, burning guys, whatever, but we never got to see him go against man press, and he's going to get that in the league. How's he fare? Senior Bowl, combine, he looked great doing both. He's a guy who probably was a day 3, round 4 or 5 selection that is now moving up to round early 4, 3. Maybe we'll see how the pro day goes. Day 2 might be a stretch, but he's a guy that teams are going to target in the mid rounds now, and probably get a professional receiver, not right away, but a guy who has a good chance to be a long-time pro and a multi-contract starter, which is really what these scouts are looking for.
That makes a lot of sense. I want to go back to a little bit the draft, what you might have seen at the combine or taken away from it on the defensive side of the ball. Who do you think at this point is the best defensive player in the draft? I have been hearing recently some momentum towards Kyle Hamilton, the safety out of Notre Dame. Obviously, Jordan Davis had a hell of a combine, running the 40, just flying at his massive weight. I mean, obviously the edge rushers and Hutchinson out of Michigan, Thibodeau out of Oregon, who seemed like the early favorite. Who do you kind of give the edge to on the defensive side of the ball with a few guys who could have a stake in that claim?
Yeah, that Davis workout was incredible. Just to see, wasn't that nuts?
I mean, bro, for him to be moving that fast at that damn weight is just ridiculous.
It's terrifying that somebody that big can do that.
That's a perfect word, terrifying. I mean, I couldn't believe the dude was moving like that. Like, if the football thing doesn't work out for him, which it seems like it's gonna, he could be in the WWE. I mean, he could take over wrestling tomorrow. I don't know how the man is on the mic, but just coach him up a little bit, and he'd be bulldozing guys out there. So yeah, when you see a eye-popping workout like that, you tend to drift that way. This is an edge rush heavy draft. Right. That was the overall consensus at the combine. I know Hamilton's getting a ton of love and attention, even from the Panthers at 6, because there's this fascination with pairing him, a true safety, with Jeremy Chin.
Ooh, I like that.
That's the nice duo right there.
Yeah. Yep. And then the Panthers would have, J.C. Horn at corner, C.J. Henderson, who's only 2 years removed from being the 7th overall pick, I believe.
It's pretty right.
Yep. And then Jeremy Chin and Kyle Hamilton at safety. And asking about Hamilton, because I don't think the Panthers are going to go defense just with, Matt Rule's picked a defensive player with his first round pick his only 2 years in Carolina.
Right.
As the offense has gone to its wayside. So they need to go offense. But, you got to do your due diligence about Hamilton, right? And asking around about him, he sounds like a complete tight end eraser, a guy who can match up with a big body tight end or not afraid to line up against a slot receiver. I haven't done the tape. I haven't done the footwork yet on a lot of these defensive guys at the top of the draft, just because the Panthers likely focusing on offense. There's some day 2, day 3 corners that scouts I talked to are really excited about, which the Panthers may be looking at. But just at the top of the draft, I think edge rushers aside, because that's the premier position. I think Kyle Hamilton's really going to come in this league and make his mark immediately, sort of like what Javon Holland did in Miami this past year.
I can see that too, and it makes sense, Matt, before you go, just about being that tight end eraser, how important that is in the NFL nowadays. Even in that NFC South with Kyle Pitts, who's going to be a hell of a tight end in the NFL. We'll see what Gronk turns into him, but even then, Tampa Bay has a couple other tight ends who are valid pass catchers, George Kittle in the NFC as well. I can see Hamilton. I agree. At this point, I think Hamilton's the best defensive player in the draft, but there's Hutchinson, Thibodeau, and Jordan Davis speaks for himself. But I'm really interested to see where Hamilton ends up.
100%. You got to be able to eliminate the middle of the field. It's impossible to do, but adding a talent like Kyle Hamilton makes the job doable.
And I love that you mentioned Holland because he was one of my favorite players, let alone rookies in the NFL this past season. What he did for Miami secondary was dope.
Incredibly impressive. I was at the Miami Panthers game, and he was all over the field. Pick Cam Newton off. Just a young man who's going to be a star in this league for years to come. And now that type of year is going to help the next class, which should balloon Kyle Hamilton's value.
100%. I love his upside. I think he'd be a perfect fit, a little selfishly, for the Chicago Bears, but we'll see what they do to address that position this offseason. I want to switch gears a little bit to some recent news out of Carolina dealing with Christian McCaffrey. The reporting, it appears, is that Carolina isn't exactly shopping McCaffrey, but they're listening to offers, and maybe there have been offers by at least a couple teams. Do you think the Panthers would do that? What would be the goal there? And I got a couple questions, really. So just bear with me, at least four. What would that return look like? And who are maybe some of these teams that would be interested? Everybody would be interested in Christian McCaffrey, but who are these teams that, would probably be offering up a package to really try to land him?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. We could talk at nauseum about this, right? Let's start on the Panthers side of this.
Yeah.
It's a time of year where teams are going to make calls about everybody, right? Yeah. And especially at the combine, you're going to see somebody in person, and you're going to just shoot the crap, if you will, about the talented players on your roster. It's the same reason the Robbie Anderson report surfaced about New England being interested in him. And I think these two reports are very similar. And from the calls I've been making, I had one agent tell me that Carolina's in a position where smart teams, eager teams, hungry teams are going to call the Panthers because they smell blood in the water. They see a team fluttering, having a little power dispute. Matt Rule had final say on the 53 his whole tenure here, but now it seems like a quiet shift to Scott Fitterer, the GM, who's been here 1 year less than Matt Rule. It seems like this is his front office now, or at least final say. And when that alignment isn't there, teams tend to try to strike, right? So a team like the Patriots is going to call about Robbie Anderson only if they can get him for a 6th round pick.
Yep.
Right? A 7th round pick. You're not going to get anything good in return from the Patriots for Robbie Anderson. Are you kidding me? So what do you really gain there as a Panthers coach or executive on trading your talent away? And I had the agent tell me the same exact. He goes, now take that same theory and spin it to Christian McCaffrey. Sure, the reports of a 1st round pick and a young player sound good, but is that pick and player going to equate to a top 10 non-quarterback in the league, and arguably top 10 with quarterbacks in Christian McCaffrey? I mean, there is nobody like McCaffrey in the league when healthy, right?
Yep.
And I understand the 23 missed games over 2 years and the qualifier there being when healthy.
Right.
I can say that his second injury this year that took him out for the season in Miami was just a fluke. He was in pass protection and he had a defender roll up on his ankle. That stuff happens. Christian in his exit interview was very detailed about how he's going to handle his offseason different this year. He's not going to work, as strange as it sounds, he's not going to work so hard early in the offseason and be hard on his body. Right. And hit those heavy squats. And I mean, Scott, you know how these offseason workouts go. You really need to taper yourself and prepare for the long haul of the season. But you can lose track of yourself in these dog days of February and March when you're getting antsy and just want to go out there and grind. And Christian's a complete workaholic, so he's aware that he needs to reconfigure his offseason workouts in order to stay fresh for the season. And that my point is the Panthers selling Christian McCaffrey right now wouldn't be more than 65 cents on the dollar. Even if at that asking price of a 1st round pick and a player, you're not going to get that back in return. I remember, being a 4th grader when the Vikings traded Randy Moss and got a first round pick and a player back in Napoleon Harris, and you're not going to change. You're not going to replicate that game changing talent, right? So, and then to wrap this up, when you ask about teams that this deal would make sense for, you look at clubs on the top. A Kansas City, I heard, would be interested. The Chargers are a team that would be interested. Teams that are able to go all in and have that Super Bowl in mind and feel like they're a piece away. Right. And that would be great for a team that feels like they are a game-changing player away. But then when you look back at your team itself, what does that do for you? It doesn't help you in the short term because you're trading one of the league's premier players away. And it doesn't help you in the long term because you're getting 65 cents on the dollar back. So in all, I don't think it makes sense for either side. And I think Christian McCaffrey remains a Carolina Panther. Despite these rumors, they're going to keep flowing to the draft most likely.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, don't let Christian McCaffrey go to Kansas City. They don't need another weapon. So hopefully Carolina does hang on to him. But obviously being in Indianapolis for the Combine, everybody always talks about the food. So was there a restaurant that you enjoyed most, or is there one that you're like, if you go to Indy, you got to go here?
Yeah. No brainers. St. Elmo's Steakhouse.
Of course. Yep.
A legendary establishment. If you're a filet mignon, some broccoli and a baked potato type of person, and cool with dropping 3 figures on
the bread,
bread, down to drop some bread or slide the company card.
Everything's deductible.
Exactly, my man. That's the spot you got to hit. Harry and Izzy's is right down the road, and St. Elmo's has their famous shrimp cocktail, but Harry and Izzy's also has that on their menu. That hot sauce they put on it'll clear you right up. It's been 2 years since we were able to get to Indy because of the pandemic, and just my mouth is watering now thinking of the food. And I'm back here. I'm in Charlotte now, so the South has some good food, but there's something about Indy and the Combine and ignoring your bank statements for a week that just make your mouth water. So I appreciate the question.
Yeah, of course. I mean, well, watching Jordan Davis just makes me want to go eat. Obviously, like him running. And all these feats of impressive athletic ability. I need a burger or a steak, obviously.
But it's been a blast as always, man. Thanks again so much for joining us, Ellis. Go check out Ellis' work on Twitter at Book of Ellis. But that's going to do it for us. For Scott Proctor, Matt Morris, our guy Ellis Williams. We'll catch you on the next episode of Simple Question.